Tony Padilla is ready for the tip. And we are ready for basketball in Morgantown. Mountaineers control with Brennan Lorient. And it's Honor Huff to run the show.
It's going to be absolutely vital that Kansas State make Huff and Eagle staff work for everything they get, in particular on that three-point line. Castillo, number 10, has the first assignment on Huff. Here he is.
He gets a quick double team and finds Lorient. Floyd passed up the lefty triple try, and the floater in the lane's no good. Now Haggerty pushes the pace. This is what Kansas State wants to do. Quickly down low, Manning gets his man in the air and finishes for the first bucket of the night.
And that's what Ross Hodge said. First order of business tonight is transition defense. Get it organized, stop the ball. You get so caught up in slowing down Haggerty that no one stops the rim runner, and it's an easy two for the Wildcats. But you're exactly right, Jake. That's what K-State wants this game to look like.
Well, one of the big numbers to keep an eye on tonight is fast break points for Kansas State. They are among the tops in the country in terms of pace, while West Virginia is right near the bottom of the country in terms of pace. They like to slow it down. That's out of bounds off K-State. Mountaineers basketball, and there is their first-year head coach, Ross Hodge. It has been somewhat of a rolling first-year head coach issue for West Virginia, but Hodge seems to have the right stuff and the right group to take some steps forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he's brought that defensive mindset to Morgantown. And I think oftentimes your identity needs to fit the school you are at. And when I think of West Virginia, I think of defense and toughness, and that's exactly how his team's played at North Texas, and they're playing that way even in year one here at West Virginia.
A lot of success at North Texas, and a couple of his players there did come with him, Brennan Lorient and Jasper Floyd. Haggerty weaves inside. Johnson snakes down the baseline. Haggerty gets some space, left it short. Eagle staff a scrum underneath the basket for the rebound.
This is where West Virginia, we talked about them wanting to play slow, but if Eagle staff or Huff gets an open three in transition, they got the fluorescent green light to let it fly.
Floyd nearly got stuck in the paint. Kick out to Huff. There's a turnover. Wildcats in transition. Castillo goes all the way to the cup.
That's exactly what we talked about in terms of playing with tempo. Your tempo comes from your defense. You got to speed the opposition up. You got to get stops, and you got to turn them over. Already a couple open floor buckets for the Wildcats to get this party going.
And no points for the Mountaineers now over 2 minutes in. Castillo closed quickly on Huff in the corner, and he stepped out of bounds. So a good start for Jerome Tang's bunch. He's in his 4th season. Each of the last 2 years, Nick, have been a little bit tricky. Back-to-back years with a 1-6 record to start Big 12 play.
Yeah, and close games have eluded Kansas State this year, and their last game was no different. They really went toe-to-toe with Kansas for the first 33 minutes of that thing, and then just fell apart down the stretch. So Jerome Tang wanted to see a full 40 minutes from his group, even though they are shorthanded.
Yeah, if you just look at that box score against the Jayhawks, you don't necessarily come away thinking that it was close for the majority of the game.
And it was, other than the final 7 minutes. Kansas State actually played pretty well. And then, boy, did KU just close that thing out at a high level.
Tosh Manning for 3.
They're going to help off Manning the whole game. Ross Hodge was talking about really plugging up the lane and helping off Manning and making him knock down some open shots. So we'll see if he can do that.
They're content to let him shoot. He's only hit 4 threes all year. Eagle staff has had a hot hand over the last few games. That time down low, he couldn't finish. Mountaineers are still scoreless now 3 minutes in. Haggerty travels.
Haggerty is so crafty inside, but a little walk.
Early on, it seems like Kansas State is controlling the tempo a little bit more than West Virginia. You see the difference. Yeah. There's 365 teams in Division I college basketball. West Virginia is 359th in possessions per 40 minutes.
Can't get much more opposite ends of the spectrum than that right there. And you've already seen early on Kansas State getting the game somewhat played on their terms in terms of being able to get out and get some easy ones in the open floor. But West Virginia will be very patient on this end, and it's hard to find clean looks on West Virginia when they get in that half court.
is Amir Jenkins, true freshman, under 5 in the shot clock. Jenkins fights through contact, and Haggerty takes it away. Another turnover for West Virginia. That's their third. Pass. Great pass from Castillo. Manning couldn't finish. Tip out to Johnson. He keeps it alive, and Jenkins is there to finally control it. And now look at West Virginia in transition. Eaglestaff gets an open look, and he missed it. That has been a rare sight the last few games for Trayson Eaglestaff.
13 of 26 from 3 over the last 4 games is Eaglestaff.
Now you want to do the quick math? That's 50%. 50% from 3, but he's 0 for 1 today. 4-0 Kansas State, 15:51 to play. First half, Mountaineers are still looking for their first points, and so far the Wildcats have controlled the tempo. 4-0 Kansas State early on tonight in Morgantown. The scoring struggles are nothing new for West Virginia. Overall points per game, they're last in the Big 12 overall, but Nick, it's been even tougher sledding, no pun intended with the snow, for the Mountaineers to score in conference play.
Yeah, and that's typically the case when you get in conference play. The caliber of the opposition increases and the knowledge of what you're trying to do increases, but those numbers obviously leave a lot to be desired on the offensive end of the floor for West Virginia. They got 2 excellent shooters in Huff and Eaglestaff. I think they've got an inconsistent paint presence, whether that be via the drive or the post-up. That's where I really think a guy like Chance Moore is incredibly important for West Virginia. He's on the floor, the St. Bonaventure transfer, number 13 in white. His ability to get north-south and get into the paint changes this offense.
I'm glad you specified number 13 in white, because there's also a Chance Moore in stripes tonight. One of our officials has the exact same name, not to be confused.
What are the chances?
I see what you did there.
Man, I'm on it tonight.
You've been cooped up indoors.
Yes, I have.
Going stir crazy.
I am. There he is. There's Chance Moore.
Jenkins backs away. Now he wheels around. And there's Moore. Nearly lost it. Huff lost it. It bounces to Jones. And he loses control.
Moore did a good job not hanging his head. Turned it over, but then sprinted back and got the back tap to eliminate the transition opportunity.
Castillo and Johnson, 2 players that have seen a lot more minutes in the wake of K-State's injuries. They're without Abdi Bashir Jr. for at least 4 to 6 weeks after the stress fracture in his foot. They're still without Kamari McGriff, as well as Elias Rapiak. Those are 3 regular starters for K-State that have missed the last few games now. Johnson lets fly. Eaglestaff might have gotten a hand on it, but it goes in anyway.
And Nate Johnson, very accomplished player via Akron in the transfer portal. You need all hands on deck shooting the ball. Castillo, Nate Johnson, without Bashir, without McGriff, those complementary pieces need to really step up for P.J. Haggerty and that Kansas State offense.
7-0 Wildcats, nearly 6 minutes in. Jenkins creates underneath to Thomas. And there's Buka getting his hand high for the block. Haggerty in transition by himself. Doesn't get the friendly roll. That's the Hope Coliseum advantage. And now Moore, 2-hand flush. And there are West Virginia's first points. The students can let the confetti fly.
And the confetti is flying on us right now, but it's nice that West Virginia, you go almost 6 minutes without scoring, and you're only down 5.
Would you guess that the Mountaineers' first points would come in transition on a fast break? There's a foul on Jenkins, the true freshman out of Worcester, Massachusetts.
You see this layup creates the run out the other direction, and Chance Moore, the best vertical athlete on this West Virginia roster. And Ross Hodge really spoke highly of him and talked about how important he was for this group in terms of just being different than everybody else on this roster. And maybe sometimes a dunk can get you settled in.
Jones, quick trigger in the corner. Bounces out to Lorient. I want to welcome you in, and thanks for joining us on FS1. It's K-State with an early 7-2 lead with Nick Baugh. I'm Jake Eisenberg. We're inside Hope Coliseum, and we're very glad to be inside because if you thought it was done snowing, you are wrong.
Yeah.
There's more snow in Morgantown this evening.
Slow getting on the country roads to get to Hope Coliseum, and it's been a slow start for West Virginia offensively in the early going. These two teams went dramatically different paces to this game, and so far, Kansas State able to increase the tempo a little bit in terms of getting some transition offense opportunities off their defense. Keep an eye on Kostic, number 47 for Kansas State, is in the game. Hit 4 threes in the first half of that Kansas game. He can really stroke it. And now with the injury to Bashir, he's getting more minutes and more opportunities.
That's number 47 in Lavender, freshman from Serbia. Pump fake from Johnson. Opposite wing pass. Jones for 3. That's a swish.
That's only Jones' 8th made 3 on the season. So West Virginia is going to help off Manning and Jones and force those guys to make some shots.
No, they were daring Jones to shoot. He was 1 for his last 16 over the Wildcats' last 7 games. Cats up 10-2. Under 5 on the shot clock. Huff lets fly from deep. And Kostic has the rebound.
And West Virginia will get late in the clock a lot. They're very patient, and so Huff and Eaglestaff and those guys really can hunt threes late in the clock. So you got to have great discipline for the entire possession defensively. Kansas State did there.
It's over Kostic's head. He saved it, but it goes right to Floyd. And Kostic fouls him on the other end. Floyd finishes. A freshman mistake from Andre Kostic, and Jasper Floyd takes advantage for West Virginia. 10-4 lead for K-State. Let's go in the huddle with Mountaineers head coach Ross Hodge.
Everybody settle in. Take a deep breath. Got up to a rough start. Jasper will make this free throw. Settle in. Get some stops. Give him one shot only.
Love the cool, calm nature of that huddle from Ross Hodge. You don't want to show any panic, and the reality is what you don't want to have happen is your struggles on offense to impact your defense. And at this point, it's just been a clunky start. You got a couple of good looks, but there's been 3 turnovers. There have been some shots near the rim that have gotten altered or missed. And it's allowed Kansas State to really get out and get some easy ones in the open floor, but you just never want rough offense to impact your energy defensively.
Well, Ross Hodge proves prophetic. Jasper Floyd does hit his free throw. He completes a 3-point play on each side of the timeout. Now a 5-point game in Morgantown.
Isn't it interesting that Ross Hodge, this is his 3rd time going against P.J. Haggerty as a coach.
He's definitely tired of seeing him at
Yes,
this point.
he is. He just can't shake this guy. Obviously coached against him when he was at North Texas, at Tulsa, and when he was at Memphis. And so you got a heightened familiarity on what makes him go, but just because you know what makes him go doesn't mean you can slow him down. He is just such a talented scorer.
That is 3 straight years that Hodge has had to game plan for Haggerty, who is still without a point tonight. Thomas inside. Shot clock at 5 again. Thomas picks up his dribble, pivots. Floyd, 1 on the shot clock, has to get it off. He did, but he missed. And C.J. Jones the rebound for Kansas State. Castillo, quick trigger, and he watches it fall.
Boy, whether it's Kostic or Castillo or Nate Johnson or P.J. Haggerty, you better have some awareness defending that 3-point line. And Castillo smoked that one. And it's his 41st made 3 of the season. And it's a guy that's very capable. So in the open floor, Jake, you got to build out to that 3-point line. And that's just an easy rhythm 3 for a guy that really can fill it up from beyond the arc. That's where his strength lies.
Now, what a big step forward that David Castillo has taken over the last couple of years. This is now his second season at Kansas State. After 32 games and only 2 starts last year. He had 4 starts this year, but 2 in the last 2 games. He's playing a lot more in the wake of the injuries. And look at that points per game increase. Almost 9 more points per game. The shooting percentage is way up. He's hitting 39% of his threes.
And again, without Bashir, who's still out with that injury, he is incredibly important to shoot and score the ball. He had 20 points in the win against Utah at home in Manhattan. And so his importance is pretty self-evident given the situation.
Obioha down low, and Manning made some contact.
You can tell West Virginia's just trying to find something to establish right now offensively, whether it's trying to post up Obioha there. Haven't been able to really get Huff or Eaglestaff any open, clean looks from 3 in the half court.
Now Huff is 0 for 2 from distance. Eaglestaff 0 for his lone attempt. Moore needs help. Eaglestaff pivots through 2. Moore underneath to Obioha. And Buka blocked him. And there's contact away from the ball. And it's on Buka.
You've seen that quite often where West Virginia's gotten caught picking up their dribble and needing to find an outlet. They've looked to the three-point line. I think what West Virginia needs to do more of is back cut, just like Chance Moore did when a teammate gets stuck in the paint.
Floyd to inbound, and he just barely gets it out of his hands. The Cats have turned away the Mountaineers really in every lane they've tried to find.
Yeah, I don't think we've probably given Kansas State's defense enough credit early on. They've really been locked in and disciplined to start this game.
Kostic, quick trigger, way too strong, and Eaglestaff just lets it go out of bounds. Now, defense has been a struggle for K-State. They're among the bottom in the conference in points per game allowed, up over 86 in conference play, but so far tonight it's been a lot stingier.
No doubt. And now we're seeing the first look of this three-quarter court pressure. Sometimes fall back to zone. They'll probably match up here, but just going to have to mix things up. Played a little zone against Kansas as well down the stretch. Given the short-handed nature of their roster, they got to really deploy everything.
Good ball movement from West Virginia. Eaglestaff gets an open look, and he misses. Johnson's there for the rebound. Haggerty backs it out with 9.5 to play in the first half. And the Wildcats up by 8. To shoot. Buka underneath, right near the end of the shot clock, and it's off the back iron. Moore attacks. Buka the block off the backboard. Kostic gets the loose ball.
Heck of a play from Buka. Gonna need some rim protection for him without fouling.
Haggerty's still looking for his first points. Buka is by far the tallest guy on the floor right now, with Obioha taking a seat for the Mountaineers.
They put him in ball screens. So far, he's held up decently well with traps and hedges and recovering just like this. Yeah, that's the Chance Moore that I fell in love with on film, getting ready for this game. And when he just makes a decision to go north and south, he is a handful. It's a great attack and finish.
His first year at West Virginia. Last year he was at St. Bonaventure. Missouri State for the 2 years before that, after he started his collegiate career at Arkansas. A well-traveled player. Buka underneath used his size, got over Lorient but missed. Kostic fouls Floyd.
Chance Moore, we've sung his praises here. It's just a simple rip and go to that baseline. Nate Johnson's a big body, and Moore's able to just jump, stop, displace him a little bit. Again, when you look at the roster and the skill sets, he's the one guy that stands out in terms of a guy that can break you down one-on-one with some athleticism.
Floyd hits his second free throw attempt of the night. He's 2 for 2, 70% shooter from the stripe this year. He's one of 2 players that followed Ross Hodge to West Virginia. He and Brennan Lorient were on Hodge's North Texas team last year, and so they've brought some continuity with them to Morgantown. Ross Hodge was telling us that they speak his language, and that helps maybe a little bit in translation, so to speak.
Absolutely.
With new players coming in.
And the other thing Ross Hodge said is he allows for me to coach those 2 guys really hard, which sets the tone for everybody else. There's no preferential treatment because he was with them at North Texas or anything like that.
Castillo lets it fly. And Eaglestaff is there for the rebound.
You got to find Huff. Huff needs to hunt some shots here.
Huff has only taken 2 shots from distance, and he's missed them both. And that's one reason why West Virginia still only has 8 points. 13-8 K-State with a 5-point lead. 7:30 to play, first half. (13-8) Kansas State leads West Virginia. Both teams have struggled to score early on tonight. K-State's won for its last 7, haven't scored in 3.5 minutes. West Virginia, though, has struggled to score throughout the entire season, Nick, especially in the first half. Look at the last 2 games.
Yeah, and obviously the one notable difference is number 1 Arizona has a way of doing that to a lot of people, but nevertheless, slow start in Tucson, slow start here this evening. If you want to go glass half full, which I'm sure Ross Hodge is trying to do, he at least likes what they've been able to do defensively, but it has been interesting. They've been pretty darn good at home so far this year. You just look at what they've been able to do from a record standpoint and from a defense and offense standpoint. So we'll see if things kind of revert back to what we've seen so far. But again, it's the beauty of your defense. It can sustain you even when you hit a drought offensively, and that's what's happened here for the Mountaineers early on.
That's one of the curious parts so far tonight, is that West Virginia has been miles better offensively at home versus on the road. 18 points per game better. That is the 10th largest difference in the country, home versus road. Huff, long trigger, he watches it drop. How about Honor Huff with his first 3 of the night?
That was a quick trigger, and it was contested.
That is what he has been doing his entire collegiate career. His 365th career three-pointer. And now a steal from Thomas. He flails it out. Johnson loses control. Scrum for the ball. Eaglestaff has it, and he gets it out to Huff. And now West Virginia has some momentum. And there goes that. Immediate travel from Trayson Eaglestaff.
Well, this is how quick it can happen, Jake, when you're dealing with Huff. He's maybe small, but he's got a quick release. Just a split second of you with your hands down, and he is rising up. This guy is an elite scorer.
You see the ranks. Last year, most three-pointers made in college basketball with 131. And he is among the active leading scorers in the country. There's Nate Johnson with an answer. That's his second 3 of the night.
Those opposite side of the floor threes are going to be available. West Virginia really floods to the ball. You saw a couple times on baseline penetration. They're coming to trap. And so if you get that ball to the other side of the court, you're going to have open threes.
Thomas, elbow jumper.
Good-looking freshman. Jenkins and Thomas, 2 young players that Ross Hodge says is their maturity is beyond their years, and it's gotten them on the floor.
It is an entirely new roster for West Virginia. 0 returning points, 0 returning minutes from last year, which makes it, I think, Nick, even more impressive that the 2 freshmen, Jenkins and Thomas, are seeing as much time as they're getting.
Yeah, and Ross Hodge just lit up, though, when we asked him about those 2 guys and their maturity, their intelligence. Pointed out how they both were winners in high school, which I think is sometimes an overlooked component. It's one of the things that I like about Honor Huff is Chattanooga, they won the NITs.
And he certainly was a big reason why.
Huff is so good, you want him to take shots that are ridiculous. Like, that was a 30-footer, and I thought, rise up and shoot that thing.
Yeah, why not? And there he goes again. And he catches it. just getting started. Tie game in Morgantown.
Off the dribble, catch and shoot. He is so dangerous from beyond the arc.
Wild attempt. And a chance for the Mountaineers to take the lead.
Nate Johnson's got to get into Huff's body.
Obioha fights through contact. And the Mountaineers have their first lead of the night. Timeout, Kansas State.
Well, you connect the dots, Jake. Huff gets going. West Virginia gets going. A couple of long-range threes and then an assist. And he is just feeling it. You better get into his body or he's going to rise up. Little corner three. And because he's hit two, you've got to get up the floor. And he's able to drive, draw help, drop it to Obioha to get 2 points. But all of this flurry centers around Huff getting busy offensively.
And he starts to draw more and more attention, too. We've seen the Wildcats really bring two players out high on him, well outside the arc.
Yes, with any sort of ball screen or handoff, you got to hedge, you got to keep two on him, or you've seen what he can do. And then even in a one-on-one scenario, Nate Johnson had to get 28 feet from the basket, and Huff is quick, and it's hard to keep him out of the lane. He's able to get a piece of the paint and drop it down, but it's amazing when your stud gets rolling, it just everything falls into place. Obioha is the kind of scorer where he scores off of people, whether it's rolls to the basket or dump downs like that, but you got to establish your stud to really click on all cylinders offensively.
Meanwhile, Haggerty has not yet established himself. No. He has no points. He's 0 for 5 from the field. This is a player that has had at least 20 points in 9 of his last 11 games. And he's fouled on the floor.
It's a challenging defense for a guy like P.J. Haggerty because the one thing that Ross Hodges' defenses do is they sell out to take away the paint, and that's where P.J. Haggerty wants to live. He wants to get 2 feet in the paint. He wants to pivot and shot fake and draw fouls and hit little 10, 12-footers, and it's just hard because there's just a pile of Mountaineers waiting for him when he puts the foot on the gas.
Buka and Obioha. Tall trees here in Morgantown. Castillo gets free. In and out. And into Johnson's hands. Castillo again, and this time he gets a default.
Tough. Chance Moore, long, contested it, still able to get it up and go down. But when you play off 2 feet, give yourself some options. Just got the shot blocker a little off schedule. We'll finish it for Castillo.
7 points for him to lead K-State. Huff again. That is 3 threes for Honor Huff. And West Virginia has hit each of its last 6 shots. From ice cold to red hot. And Haggerty stays frigid.
Well, a little signs of life offensively on both ends. First of all, Castillo attacking Chance Moore. A little shot fake into the body. Tough 2. And then Huff is feeling it. You run him on the baseline. Give him all 3 of them here at Polk Coliseum. Welcome back to Morgantown, and Hunter Huff is cooking, and keep an eye on all that you have to defend when he's rolling. Number 3, he's setting that high on-ball screen, and it's going to be a set play for him to get to that baseline and sprint off a screen along that baseline. And if your switches are not on point and you get too much separation, he is going to burn you. Not good enough communication, and Huff able to read it perfectly and knock it down. That's 3 made threes for Huff, and a nice little assist from Russ Hodges' dry erase board.
And you could see P.J. Haggerty point to Andre Kostic to get over there and cover. Kostic got lost amidst the bodies, a little bit of contact. He couldn't close.
No, and your communication's got to be better when you're dealing with a guy that led the country in 3-point field goals made a year ago. And it certainly wasn't good enough there, but all of a sudden in a span of 3 or 4 minutes, Huff has heated up in a major way. And you pointed out that the guy that's got to get rolling is Haggerty for Kansas State. 0 for 6 from the floor.
And that is the Big 12's leading scorer.
Yeah.
23 points per game this season.
The free throw line is such a big part of how he scores, and he has not gotten there. He is a guy that's had 10-plus free throw attempts in 8 games this year. He averages 7 free throw attempts a game.
Boy, shot clock violation. Haggerty is saying it's his fault for not thinking. And the Wildcats, after a good start early, now you sense a little bit of confusion.
Jake, what do you think's coming here? You think maybe something for Huff?
I think so.
You think he's going to get involved?
Yeah, keep an eye on number 3. Chance Moore rocks the rim. Everybody's looking at Honor Huff, but you got to keep an eye on Chance Moore too.
North-south, Chance Moore, rocking the rim.
Haggerty had to give it up. Johnson shakes his defender. Missed the jumper. Huff chases it down. Mountaineers up by 5 with 2.5 to play in the first half.
Same set coming along that baseline. We just talked about it. Now he pops back.
Huff shakes Haggerty. Just missed the 3. Buka fights. Thomas knocks it away. And Buka gets called for the foul, reaching in.
Well, Huff was rolling, and so Coach Hodge understands that. You get everybody thinking about Hunter Huff, and instead he just clear out that baseline, and Chance Moore is able to rip and go because you brought Buka up away from the rim. That's just simple, but simple wins.
That was actually on Taj Manning. That's his second. Huff from the corner. This time he hits the 3. Give him 4 from distance tonight.
Excellent screen to free up Huff. And that's the thing. When Huff gets going, you can feel the other 4 players on the floor with him really want to go headhunt to get him loose.
Active hands from Jasper Floyd. Running with Moore. Eagle staff pops it in. Now the Mountaineers are widening the gap, now up by 10. Their largest lead of the night. Another timeout for Jerome Tang and K-State.
Well, any equation of Kansas State being successful tonight and for the rest of the season obviously has to involve Haggerty rolling here. And pretty interesting. Who was the coach of North Texas?
I wonder what the commonality there is.
And familiarity helps understand what to do to slow him down. And something Ross Hodge told us was that keeping him off the free throw line was going to be of the utmost importance. And so far, West Virginia has done that. There just have been helpers in the gaps slowing him down.
Well, they've kept the entire Wildcat team off the free throw line. No attempts so far tonight. 90 seconds left in the first half. Coming up at the Lincoln Financial Sports Desk, we've got first half stats and analysis, reaction to Michigan State and Rutgers. It's Rob Stone and Miles Simon over in LA, where I'm sure it's a little bit warmer than it is here.
That's not saying much, though.
They wouldn't rub it in, would they?
I don't think so.
Moore gets south again, too strong off the glass. Buka goes tumbling. And Kostic turns it over. It's been a tough first half for him. It's been a good first half for Nate Johnson. He gets his own turnover. Euro step, coast to coast, strong finish for Nate Johnson.
A great sequence. The good poke free of the ball on Chance Moore, and then Nate Johnson goes coast to coast to lay it in, just to stop the bleeding for a moment here.
8 points for Johnson to lead the Wildcats. Seconds to play in the first half. Huff's ready to let fly again. There he goes. Left it short. Out of bounds with under 20. Shot clock off.
Dodged the bullet. Castillo got too extended on the switch edge there, and it's a pretty good clean look for Huff. Just missed it.
It was an early lead for K-State. The Mountaineers really couldn't hit anything, and then all of a sudden they started hitting everything. That includes Honor Huff, who's got 4 3-pointers. And now the final possession of the half. Haggerty has not scored tonight. He is 0 for 7 from the field. Castillo tied up. At the buzzer, he hits it. Got the shot off in time. The final points of the half. And K-State ends the half trailing by 6 instead of 8. But it's West Virginia, Nick, who takes a 28-22 halftime lead.
23-5 run. Really blew this game open, but Kansas State ends on a 4-0 run. Nate Johnson with the layup off the steal of Chance Moore, and then a nice jab and mid-range jumper for Castillo to beat the horn. So really felt like things were falling apart for K-State, but a nice final minute, and all things considered, only down 6.
A well-timed timeout for Jerome Tang toward the tail end of the half. So we do have halftime in Morgantown. 28-22, West Virginia in front. After the break, we'll be back with more from Hope Coliseum. Welcome back to Morgantown. We're inside Hope Coliseum and getting ready for the second half tonight between West Virginia and Kansas State. The Mountaineers a 6-point halftime lead, 28-22, so a pretty low-scoring game so far. So glad you're with us. Thanks for joining us courtside with Nick Baugh. I'm Jake Eisenberg. We saw, I think, Nick, almost 2 halves within that first half. K-State started strong. West Virginia was ice cold, but then they really picked up the shooting.
Yeah, if you're West Virginia, your defense held down the fort when you were really struggling, and then Huff got loose and really blew this game open. But I don't think either team really felt like they were fully clicking on all cylinders at all in the first 20 minutes. And the 2 guys, though, for Kansas State that were absolutely clicking on all cylinders were David Castillo and Nate Johnson. When P.J. Haggerty was really struggling, these 2 guys held down the fort. 9 points for Castillo, and Nate Johnson, the Akron transfer. This guy's used to playing in big games and big moments, high leverage situations, and stepping up. He hit 2 big threes, scored 8 points for the Wildcats, and I thought Chance Moore came off the bench and provided a big lift, driving the ball to that baseline, not once but twice, and rocking the rim. 6 points for Moore. Really big ones for the Mountaineers.
Really, the biggest number is that 0 in P.J. Haggerty's points column. First time he's been held scoreless in the first half since February 7th of 2024, coincidentally, against a North Texas team coached by Ross Hodge. Meanwhile, Honor Huff, a prolific 3-point shooter, had 4 threes in that half.
But take a look at the second half scoring by P.J. Haggerty. Just because he's 0 for 7 and hasn't scored, that guy's not going to be phased. He's saved his best for the second stanza more often than not.
Yeah, an important note on that game against North Texas, P.J. Haggerty had 20 points in the second half of that game after he was held scoreless in the first half. So we'll see what P.J. Haggerty has in store for the second half tonight in Morgantown. 6-point lead for West Virginia to open the second half.
I think the free throw line is going to loom large. If Haggerty can't get to the free throw line, I'm not sure he can get cooking at full strength.
That's good length from Brennan Lorien. He's very long, 6 feet 9 inches tall, senior transfer
from
Ocala, Florida.
Sorry, Jake. It's a good example of the discipline and the patience from West Virginia in the half court. They'll go deep in that clock and find a good quality look.
Haggerty gives it up. Johnson, a rainbow try that's short, and Jasper Floyd has the rebound. Lorien somehow puts it over Obioha. That doesn't happen too often with his height. Johnson steps out of bounds.
Well, something you've seen early on the first 2 possessions, and you're going to continue to watch, is using Huff as a screener in the half court. Obviously, you're reluctant to help off of Huff, and when that's the case, if he can set screens, he can create opportunities for his teammates. Hager needs to get an easy one in transition. He needs to get a run-out layup or off of an outlet, go push it and try to score. Go hit an easy one.
It's also been a quiet night for Eagle staff.
Here you go.
Pass gets loose. Haggerty bumps Floyd, gets more contact, gets the bucket. There's P.J. Haggerty's first points, exactly what you wanted him to do.
That's what you need to do. When you are having a hard time scoring, the free throw line or the open floor are your best friends. And there, finally, Haggerty just gets a run out and 2 points. Now you can kind of exhale.
He has scored at least 10 points in every game this season. He's had at least 20 points in 15 of the Wildcats' 20 games, and that includes 9 of the last 11. So he's going to get his. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, he's not going to slow down. He's not going to take his foot off the gas. And it's also where some of the other Wildcats got to help him out a little bit. He's so good that you figured, oh, PJ will just figure it out, and he'll get his own buckets.
Eagle staff wide open, but he missed again. He's now 1 for 6 from the floor. Offensive rebound for Lorient. And that's off Manning. It stays with the Mountaineers.
Eagle staff's gotten a couple of wide open threes.
After shooting 50% from three-point range his last few games, he is 0 for 4 from beyond the arc tonight. Deep in the shot clock. Floyd steps back. Eagle staff's there in the paint. And he gets a friendly home court roll.
Maybe that'll get Eagle staff's motor going a little bit. Second made field goal. Just an easy little floater inside.
4 points now for Trayson Eagle staff. Transfer from North Dakota. Great look down low. Haggerty gets blocked. Obioha flies in.
Great play from Obioha.
Off a great dish, and Lorient gets around Buka on both ends of the floor. Top-notch execution.
That's just so good, though, from Obioha. It's a backdoor set for Haggerty. He was going to have a layup. Obioha erases it, and it's 2 the other way. Just a big sequence for West Virginia.
Mountaineers are back up by 10. Castillo goes off the side of the backboard. Huff launches. Misses. Another offensive rebound for West Virginia.
Pounding the Wildcats on the offensive glass in the early going.
That's off Lorient, and so it's Wildcat basketball now.
Big sequence here, Jake, because Haggerty got 2 points. The next play, you get a backdoor set for Haggerty. He was looking at back-to-back field goals, but Obioha comes off his man, erases it, which gets the party started the other direction. Great play from Huff to drop it down to Lorient. Just a nice sequence both ways.
That was some very pretty basketball, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. That backdoor set might be happening again, though, for Haggerty at some point.
Kostic lets fly, and that's a miss. Eagle staff the rebound. Now Lorient misses.
Not a horrible three-point shooter, 35%, but you maybe want to work the offense a little more.
Johnson fights it to Manning in the paint, and he finishes. That snaps a nearly 3-minute scoring drought for the Wildcats. Floyd backs down Kostic. 5 to shoot. Floyd bounces in the paint. Underneath, Lorient reverse layup.
Wow. What patience, poise, and instincts from Jasper Floyd there. just backing his man down, invited that double team to exactly where he wanted to go with the ball. That's experience showing itself.
That is experience with each other, too. Two guys that both played in North Texas together last year and transferred here when Hodge came over. Haggerty hits the three, gets knocked down. No whistle. But just seeing something fall is big for P.J. Haggerty.
He always wants to drive first, but this could be a game because of the way that paint is packed that he might have to let some threes fly every once in a while, just like that one.
Well, the Wildcats have not attempted a single free throw so far tonight, and the Mountaineers are only 2 for 3. Tough rebound for Manning. Johnson, open three try, and he rattles it in. And the Wildcats draw ever closer. It's a 4-point game.
Quite the response from Kansas State. And again, those transition situations, Castillo and Johnson, you have to locate those two Wildcats.
Johnson's now got a team-high 11 points, and he has hit 3 threes. He's also got 5 rebounds tonight. Good all-around game so far for Nate Johnson. 5 to shoot for the freshman Thomas. He gets free, but Manning flies in for the block at the end of the buzzer. Good defense from Kansas State. That takes us to a timeout. The Wildcats, Nick, are starting to close the gap, down by only 4.
Well, finally, P.J. Haggerty gets in the scoring column. A little layup in transition, and then a 3 off of a handoff, and in the open floor, finding the Akron transfer, Nate Johnson, splash. Nice response from K-State.
Only on Fox. We've got a 4-point game here in Morgantown. It's a 6-0 run for K-State. Let's go in the huddle with Mountaineers head coach Ross Hodge.
All right, man, they made the run. Time to make our run. Let's go. They get a stop, man. Let's go.
Much like the first half huddle, I love the cool, calm nature of Ross Hodge. I'm telling you, there's something to that. When you go in the huddle and your coach is freaking out, it can be challenging for you to not freak out. But in the first half, when things aren't going well offensively, Ross Hodge said, hey, calm down. In the second half, Kansas State goes on a run. He says, hey, calm down. I think that's a guy that's got a demeanor beyond his years in terms of experience as a head coach.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yes.
He's watched his team go 0 for 5 from beyond the arc to begin this second half. But to your point, they closed the first half shooting much better than how they started the game. Castillo gets eagle staff in the air and draws the contact and mark it down. 13 minutes, 23 seconds left in the second half, and the Wildcats have their first free throws.
Big part of this game. And Castillo, it's almost like he's been hanging around P.J. Haggerty, because twice he has done what Haggerty usually does in a jump stop and getting the defense off balance and drawing a foul. That was a nice job by Castillo.
He's now got 10 points after that made free throw. And make it 11. So he's hit his season average. He's certainly stepped up in the midst of Haggerty's quiet night, and he's got the Cats back within 2. Make it an 8-0 run for Kansas State.
Great cut.
More underneath. What's that, his third dunk of the night?
Yeah, he plays to his strengths, and he's not a great three-point shooter. Well, if we could see the replay of that, the second that ball was driven baseline, he was shot out of a cannon, cutting right to the front of the rim. Smart.
Johnson loses it out of bounds. Moore poked it loose, and so it stays with Kansas State.
Well, look at Chance Moore in the corner, number 13. Watch the second the ball gets driven. Boom! Here comes Chance Moore right to the front of the rim and a dunk. No hesitation, doing it with purpose, good hard cut, playing to your strengths, just so good from Chance Moore.
Haggerty gives it up. Kostic for 3. Too strong, and Jenkins the rebound. Moore goes to work. Bodies up Johnson. And Manning's there for the rebound.
Job by Nate Johnson to play off of Chance Moore, but I like that shot.
Castillo thought about the three, drives past Huff and gets the two instead.
More than just a catch and shoot guy is Castillo. He's pretty good putting the ball on the deck.
Lorient pops and answers. He keeps West Virginia in front. Back to a 4-point game with under 12 to play. Extra pass. Kostic in the corner. He finally hits.
What an unselfish play from Haggerty. And he could have easily taken that shot, which would have been a good shot, but he gives it up for a great shot for Kostic. Love the unselfishness.
And now it's a 1-point game. Wildcats have found their stroke. They're 5 for their last 6 from the field. Jenkins, a wide open look.
Just the 8th made 3 of the season, but he's 8 of 16 from 3. That's a great play on the short roll and kick to the opposite side of the floor. Good offense.
He's been an important piece off the bench for Ross Hodge. He's played nearly 20 minutes off the bench every game. Haggerty gets free underneath.
Big time cut from Haggerty and a nice delivery from Nate Johnson. Slowly but surely, Haggerty putting his fingerprints on this game. Scoring, distributing.
Now Haggerty's up to 7 points. Go along with 3 rebounds and 3 assists. Huff off balance. A little bit wild. Thomas controls the offensive rebound and resets for West Virginia.
Give Chance more credit, though. He went in and got a hand of that ball and kept it alive.
Thomas, all by himself, backs down Manning. Another offensive rebound. Lorient right underneath for the finish. And the Mountaineers are back up by 4.
A couple timely offensive rebounds in this second half for West Virginia.
That is 6 total offensive rebounds for the Mountaineers. Haggerty leaves it short. Offensive rebound for Manning. And a foul underneath the basket.
It's getting good here in Morgantown, isn't it? Both teams settling in. First of all, Amir Jenkins off the short roll. Too much space. Knocking it down as a true freshman. Great backdoor from Nate Johnson to PJ Haggerty for the easy 2. And then the offensive glass looming large. Lorient up and in. Welcome back to Morgantown, and I want you to watch PJ Haggerty, number 4 in the corner. And sometimes when you're having a rough day offensively, you can get a little thirsty and maybe force some shots, but you have to continue to play the right way. Castillo splits the screen, unselfish play, extra pass for Kostic for the open 3. That's a nice unselfish play from Haggerty that ends in a triple for the Wildcats.
And no doubt that Andre Kostic was happy to see one go down. He did have a career-high 12 points against Kansas in the Wildcats last game, but even 0 for 3 from distance tonight before that make. And the Wildcats have shot the ball from 3 pretty well tonight.
And I thought it was interesting. You asked Jerome Tang today, hey, what have you learned about PJ Haggerty having coached him? And he went to his personality. He said, I learned that his teammates really like him. And I'm telling you, Jake, that matters. If you're going to take all the shots, you better be well liked in that locker room. And Haggerty is for Kansas State. And plays like that show you exactly why.
Kansas State down by 4 with under 10 minutes to play in Morgantown. It's been a good night for David Castillo. He's got 11. Active hands for Huff. Castillo pops. Friendly roll. He's got 2 more. Give him 13 total.
He has really, really played well. One of the few times that he's not at a disadvantage from a size standpoint attacking Huff. And he's played off 2 feet every time he's driven to the basket. Comes Huff off the corner. Good job. Chasing by C.J. Jones.
Another handoff for Huff. Trying to shake Johnson. Jenkins, step back. 3, too strong. Lorient jumped early, but nobody was there with him. He gets the offensive rebound. Jones picks his pocket. And now Johnson runs the floor. Gives it up. Haggerty underneath. Bodied by Lorient.
Great feel from Nate Johnson, understanding that Haggerty was trailing him to turn and locate. Just having that feel of your teammate and where they're at. Knowing that he wasn't going to be able to get it up because he was running too fast. Haggerty just so smart and under control in traffic. Really good sequence.
And now Haggerty finds himself at a place where he is very, very familiar at the free throw line. Not only does he lead active players in career points per game, a little over 20, he is also the active leader in free throws made. That is number 579 in his collegiate career.
More often than not, great scorers are great at getting to the free throw line. It's a way to get easy points. It's a way to keep your rhythm, and it's a way to find rhythm. P.J. Haggerty has not shot it well tonight, and being able to go to the stripe, see two go through the net, helps you find that rhythm. The free throw line is so important.
He sees two go in, and he ties the game at 45.
Well, Kansas State has done a much better job on Huff. Outside of that little 4 or 5 minute flurry, Huff hasn't gotten loose too often.
It's been a great second half for Brendan Lorient, but that pass gets picked off. Johnson has it. This time he takes it himself, and a strong finish from Nate Johnson.
Great play from Johnson. Was chasing Huff, who they're trying to free up for a three, and it's a pick six the other way.
A timeout, West Virginia. It's the Wildcats back in front after the latest Johnson bucket. 47-45.
Arizona staves off BYU late. By the way, Miami of Ohio, the other undefeated team left, they're down at half right now to UMass. So certainly keep an eye. We'll score watch, if you will, as we're watching two Big 12 teams go at it here in what is shaping up to be a nice final 8 minutes.
Arizona could wind up as the last undefeated standing just before the start of February. Kansas State in front by 2, 8.5 to play in Morgantown. Huff on the drive, wild try, high off the glass, and Buka controls the loose ball for Kansas State.
K-State has really clamped things up on Huff. Where a guy like Eaglestaff's going to have to join the party a little bit from beyond the arc at some point to help out Huff in the scoring department.
Tang gives some orders. Quick pass, Castillo got Lorient in the air. Step back from the corner, missed it. That would have been a big three. And the ball bounces to Eaglestaff.
Pretty good, clean look for Castillo. Got to move as he's posting here. Can't stand and watch.
Miscommunication with Floyd and Obioha. That's out of bounds. And that takes us to a timeout inside Hope Coliseum. Kansas State maintains that slim lead, 47-45. There's a good one brewing here in Morgantown. Point game in Morgantown. It has been a much better second half, Nick, for P.J. Haggerty, who was held scoreless in the first half. He's got 9 points in the second half.
But he averages almost 15 points per game in the second half, and so you knew he wasn't going to stay quiet long. That was his first point. Just an easy one in the open floor. Knocked down a three, and then a nice back cut and delivery from Nate Johnson. He's able to get to the free throw line as well. So up to 9 total points now for P.J. Haggerty, and he is very much involved in this game.
Now, Haggerty is 3 for 5 from the floor in the second half. That includes a three, and he's also hit 2 foul shots.
It just feels like West Virginia has really slowed down offensively here in this second half, and a lot of that is stemmed from Huff slowing down.
Now, Huff has been held scoreless in this second half. He had 4 threes in the first half, but he's really switched places, it feels like, with P.J. Haggerty. Game high 15 points for David Castillo. Backs it out with 10 to shoot. Swing to Haggerty. Kick out in the corner. Johnson passed up the 3, pops the 2, missed it. Lorient the rebound.
That's not his shot. He should have just shot the corner 3 instead of one-hand 16-footer. That's not the shot that Kansas State wants.
Huff nearly traveled, stepping out behind the perimeter. 10 points for Lorient in the second half after he was scoreless in the first half. Huff triggers. That was a wild attempt.
That's a frustration. I need to get a shot from Huff.
Full head of steam for Haggerty. Loses control. Right to Floyd, but there's a whistle. And Morgantown doesn't love it.
That's what Haggerty does, though. Get you on your heels, and he knows how to get you off balance and then take advantage of that to draw a foul. I've been impressed with Kansas State's fight. It's not been the prettiest game, a game that they want the game in the 80s and the 90s, and they want it free-flowing. That's not what this game has been. And yet their intensity has stayed pretty high the entire time. Now that's something Jerome Tang talked to us about at shoot-around. The ability to just sustain a full 40 minutes.
Now this is about the point in the game against Kansas where it started to fall apart for the Wildcats.
Good look. Great play from Haggerty. Draws help. That's a good shot from a good shooter.
The Wildcats were down 6 at halftime. They maintain a 2-point lead with now under 6 minutes to play in the game. Thomas gets blocked. How big is Doreen Buka? 7 feet 2 inches, even taller with that arm.
That's unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
He made blocking a 3 look about as simple as it gets.
That was a little big brother, little brother kind of action there.
Well, it's good recognition though for Buka on the shot clock situation. Understanding that in that moment, about all DJ Thomas can do is catch and shoot. So he closes out accordingly. That was nice.
Buka's seen more minutes in the wake of the Kamari McGriff injury. Again, Kansas State is without 3 of its regular starters, McGriff, Bashir, and also Elias Rapiak.
So a small lineup for K-State right now.
Well, a block nonetheless. That came from Moore against Manning. Kostic in the corner. Left it short. Manning gets the rebound. Huff active hands, and now Johnson throws it off Huff. That was brilliant. Wild sequence. And
very good offensive rebound, though, for Manning, who's playing the 5 right now for K-State.
Neither team has scored in the last 3.5 minutes. Mountaineers themselves haven't scored in 5 minutes.
Good discipline from Lorient.
Johnson out of control. And a jump ball, possession to Kansas State. That was pretty close to a travel.
Very close. Eagle staff sliding his feet. That's close. 4.3 on the shot clock.
To Haggerty, quick trigger in the corner. Left it short. Huff gets it out in transition. Eaglestaff, an open look. He missed it. It's been that kind of night for Trayson Eaglestaff. Uncharacteristically cold. And now Johnson goes to the hole. Up. It's a foul on West Virginia.
Well, in real time, it really looked like Nate Johnson extended that left arm. But these are always tough as
He did a little bit.
There definitely was extension, but Floyd is moving. But these on-the-ball charges when you're defending the ball handler are really tough because you're typically not set. But boy, whenever there's any extension of the arm, that typically goes the route of an offensive foul, but not in this case.
You can make an argument in quick succession, Nick. Those are 2 50-50-ish calls that have gone the Wildcats' way. Still a 2-point lead for K-State. Great look underneath. Haggerty finishes.
Another great basket cut from Haggerty. He's had multiple backdoor cuts in this half.
And he is into double figures now with 11 points. 4-point lead now for Kansas State.
Got to get Huff going. Going to come back with a handoff here, coming up to the top. Good switch by Kostic. Kansas State's just been on point defending this guy.
Huff, deep try, and he missed again.
West Virginia needs to push. They've had a hard time scoring when the half-court defense have gotten set.
Would you agree, much better defensive half for Kostic?
Yeah, no doubt. For everybody.
K-State has locked it down, and they're up to a 4-point lead with now under 4 minutes to play here in Morgantown.
And Nate Johnson, good penetration, eyes up. PJ Haggerty lays it in, up 4 on the road.
4-point game here in Morgantown. The Wildcats have a 49-45 lead. That's after the Wildcats were down by 6 at halftime. And it has been a tale of two halves in this game for both of the leading scorers that we touched on, PJ Haggerty and Honor Huff. It was Huff's show, Nick, in the first half. It's been Haggerty's show in the second half.
And Huff, those 12 points came in about a 5 or 6 minute surge where he got loose from beyond the arc. But you got to credit Kansas State defensively, done a much better job not giving Huff any opportunities to score. And then Haggerty has just done what he typically does, just find a way, keep on plotting and getting into the paint and moving without the ball. And you see the situation in the second half. West Virginia's just had a really hard time offensively in the second stanza, and that's typically tied to Huff slowing down offensively.
And the Mountaineers are 0 for their last 6 from the field, and they haven't scored in nearly 7 minutes. Despite that, it's a 4-point game with 3.5 minutes left. 10 points in the second half for Brendan Lorient. Good turnaround jumper, unfriendly roll, offensive rebound, Eagle staff, and he gets the putback. That's what West Virginia needs.
The 7th offensive rebound in this second half, and Eagle staff has not had his game going from beyond the arc. And he's still trying to find a way to make an impact. That's a nice offensive rebound from Trayson Eaglestaff.
Now those that have braved the elements in Morgantown have ratcheted up the volume with 3 minutes to play. Haggerty, kick out. Too strong from Jones. And Huff lets it roll. West Virginia takes possession.
Smart from West Virginia, loading up the paint to get the ball out of Haggerty's hands, forcing a shooter that has not made a ton of shots. Make one in a big moment, you get the stop.
It was a 1-1 road trip to the desert for the Mountaineers. They beat Arizona State, and a lopsided loss to #1 Arizona.
Look at Nate Johnson fight through these screens.
Huff uncontested, too strong. A scrap for the board. Manning and Moore. Jump ball possession to West Virginia.
Boy, Huff gets an easy layup and just can't get it to go down. But I think Huff was almost a little surprised. He was loose for the first time. But another offensive rebound for West Virginia. Just have really been a big part of the second half, getting some second chance opportunities.
That is 9 offensive rebounds, but only 9 second chance points for the Mountaineers tonight.
8 of those offensive rebounds coming in the second half here. Gotten caught in a lot of these ISO situations has West Virginia.
And Haggerty bumps him.
That's just the first team foul on Kansas State in this second half.
It has been incredibly clean. Not a lot of whistles tonight. Only 7 combined free throw attempts between the two teams. Well, Lorient backs down Haggerty again.
Well, you got Eaglestaff. There it is.
He's wide open. And he connects. The Mountaineers are back in front, 50-49.
Better late than never.
Timeout, Jerome Tang. It's been a tough shooting night for Trayson Eaglestaff, but he makes it when it counts.
just a little one-on-one post-up. Help creeps in just enough. Eagle staff had all day to line it up. Wasn't sure if Lorient saw it. Opposite side of the floor. Too good of a shooter for that wide open of a look. And Eagle staff finally knocks down a triple.
He had been 0 for 5 from distance before that make.
And keep in mind, a guy like Trayson Eaglestaff, a year ago at North Dakota, he took 15 shots a game. He only takes about 8 or 9 now, so it's a little different role, but hitting a big one there.
We've got a 1-point game, Nick, with 2 minutes left in Morgantown. The Mountaineers are undefeated in this building this year, 12-0. The Wildcats have been reeling since the turn of the calendar year. Lost by 24 to Kansas, but trying to snap a slide and finish strong in the Big 12 slate. They're 1-6 in conference play. They finished strong last year. Manning got caught in the air. Moore strips it loose. Another dunk coming through. He gets tripped. There's a foul call.
Trayson Eaglestaff, though, the defensive rotation, saves a bucket and gets the transition opportunity started the other direction. And Chance Moore, you talk about a freight train flying down the floor. That was quite the sequence.
I don't know about you. I'm getting out of the way.
you better think twice about stepping in front of Chance Moore. It was interesting. He could have given it up to Huff, but he made the choice that he was going to take it. And he put the foot on the gas, and that was impressive. But Eaglestaff with a nice rotation and steal.
Moore goes 1 for 2. Haggerty gets the bounce. Off balance. No basket. West Virginia takes and maintains the lead. Up by 2 with 90 seconds to play.
That's how I'm saying, slow down.
Step back, rainbow try, rattles in. Honor Huff makes his mark. Haggerty for an answer. Woo! There it is.
Stars are shining late, aren't they?
Timeout in Morgantown. A 3 from Huff, a 3 from Haggerty. A 2-point game with under a minute to play. This is what you sign up for.
Yeah, Huff. No points in this second half, but in a big moment, gets Kostic one-on-one, step back, bottoms, and B.J. Haggerty, knowing that it's getting late, he's got to start to get aggressive. Another tough pull-up and a quick timeout for Jerome Tang, but that's 2 elite scorers showing you why in big moments for both their teams.
The last timeout for Tang. Hodge still has 2 in his pocket if he wants it.
This has been a low-scoring game, but a good game. Both these teams have really fought. The energy stayed high. And you knew that at some point, your top scorers were going to have to get involved. And it's been a tough night for Huff and for Haggerty, but some big shots there. And right now for West Virginia, you'd imagine you'll want to chew as much clock as you can and chew this full 30 seconds off. Last time down, they went to just a high ball screen and got the switch. Looks like they want to hunt Kostic a little bit. The interesting, Jerome Tang wants to sub Kostic out of the game, or if he's going to trust the young fella to defend, because you'd imagine Huff will want to get that switch and attack just like he did on the previous possession.
After video review, 1 minute remaining.
A couple of seconds back on the clock after a video review. Exactly 1 minute left inside Hope Coliseum.
So Kostic Judge gets subbed out. So you have more of a switchable 5 lineup for Kansas State, which makes a difference. C.J. Jones, Taj Manning on the floor along with Castillo, Nate Johnson, and P.J. Haggerty. So there's not really anybody you can pick on for a switch. But nevertheless, you'd imagine the ball's going to get in Huff's hands, and he's going to have to get busy. The one thing you have to keep in mind is if K-State gets in a vulnerable spot, they have fouls to give. They only have 2 team fouls, so if you get in a tough spot or you're beat, you can foul. But you also want to try and get the ball back with a stop.
West Virginia up by 2. Under a minute to play. You could hear a pin drop right now inside Hope Coliseum. Eagle staff underneath, gets his own miss, gets the make, and the foul. He's going to the line. What a strong finish from Trace and Eagle staff. And the Mountaineers are up by 4.
Just got overextended on a couple of these switches. And even though West Virginia wanted to choose shot clock, Eagle staff found himself in too good of a situation to not attack. Another offensive rebound looming large for West Virginia. Going small, it helps you defend on the perimeter, but you're vulnerable for the defensive glass. And now Eagle staff, who's really struggled tonight, but has had a nice final 4 or 5 minutes of this game.
9 total rebounds for Eagle staff. That ties a career high. He's also got 11 points, so he's 1 board shy of a double-double tonight. And he finishes the 3-point play.
This doesn't need to be a 3. You can get downhill, go attack the basket.
Haggerty off balance. Of course he scores. That's what he does.
It was certainly hunting for a foul there, but a ridiculously tough shot.
Wildcats press. And like you mentioned, fouls to give. And there it is from Haggerty.
And with all these fouls to give, West Virginia better put their hard hat on in handling the ball. Let's take a look back at Haggerty here, who clearly was hunting a foul, just trying to get into Lorient. Refs don't take the bait, but instead he banks home a 16-footer.
16 points now for P.J. Haggerty, so more than his second half average. And that was after he was scoreless in the first half tonight.
And if I'm Kansas State there, with these fouls to give, go for a steal as you're fouling. See if you can't jar the ball free. You got 1 more here to give. I'd make it count with either maybe 1 trap, and then try to go for a steal. Don't just wrap a guy up.
That's 3 fouls for Haggerty, too. Something to keep an eye on, if need be. And now Manning takes the foul. Just saying, if this game were to go to an extra session,
I hear you. Good job by Chance Moore to be a pressure release right to the middle of that full court press, get it up the floor, get it out of his hands to Eagle staff, who's 74% free throw shooter.
No more fouls to give for K-State. Next one, and West Virginia shoots 1 and 1. Tight defense on Huff, and Castillo fouls him.
Good execution. He cleared out that whole area for a screen to get Huff coming to the ball. All the different special situations you got to have as a coach, where you want to get the ball to your best free throw shooter, get it into Huff, and now he's at the line.
83% free throw shooter this season. 4 threes in the first half, 1 gigantic 3 in the second half. And he missed it. That's a big miss. Under 20 to play. Haggerty fights through contact. Lorient, huge rejection. It stays K-State basketball with 13.8 remaining.
Well, once again, West Virginia doing a good job being strong at the end of these drives for Haggerty. Just hands to the sky. Refs not taking the bait of blowing the whistle, even though there was some contact, but a good block from Lorient. And now they're going to check the clock here for the time being. But Haggerty just has not been able to draw fouls at the end of his drives. And that's something Ross Hodge has learned going against him not once, not twice, but 3 times. And at the end of the penetrations, you have to be really solid and keep your hands to the sky. Let's take a look at that clock.
They might add a tick or two.
Yeah, I think maybe 14-2, 14-3 in that area, potentially.
I trust you.
The clock will be reset to 14.5 seconds.
You brought your stopwatch from home, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
$14.5. You trust you got burned. You trusted me.
Yeah.
I was close.
I would trust you again.
Oh, thank you.
4/10. I mean, that's margin of error.
Right. Come on.
Come on. Give yourself a little grace.
Just eyeball this thing.
So 14.5 left.
You got to talk here on these screens. If you're West Virginia, are you switching or are you fighting through? Slips to the basket can hurt you too.
3-point game. Haggerty off balance. Off the side of the backboard. Haggerty wanted a foul call. He thought there was contact. He didn't get it.
Now, Haggerty, I think, has gotten too hyper-focused on drawing a foul. And sometimes it's about trying to get a good shot off and not always seeking out contact. The last 3 or 4 opportunities he's had to shoot, he's been more concerned about getting to the free throw line than actually making the shot.
Well, now it's going to be very difficult for K-State. Huff did miss the front end last time on this end of the floor. But now there's 8.4 seconds remaining. A swish in the midst of silence. 4-point game.
Not over yet, but West Virginia has really closed this game out strong.
Two big makes from Honor Huff. And a quick foul on Haggerty. That was smart.
Not even going to risk it. And he had a foul to give. Excuse me.
Final whistle on Jasper Floyd. His third. 2006. Julian Briscoe. Back in for the Black.
Obviously, you're West Virginia right now. You do not want to foul on any sort of shot that could be a 3.
And a turnover. West Virginia holds on against Kansas State. Strong effort from the Wildcats coming to Morgantown, but the Mountaineers remain undefeated inside Hope Coliseum, and they beat Kansas State 59-54.